Morant with a running start. Elevates. Oh, it dunks. Oh, my goodness.
Tie game in overtime. Gasol will turn his heat. It's gone. Memphis on top. 7-10 remaining. Conley now with three. Count it. A 15-point lead for Memphis. And Blake Griffin gets into it on the floor with Randolph. Hard to tell if there are any punches being thrown under there, but Griffin took acceptance.
Adams going long. Morant. He hit it. John Morant. Insanity.
You gotta be kidding me.
Welcome to Grits and Grinds, a Memphis Grizzlies podcast. Grizzlies win edition. The Grizzlies snapped a 5-game losing streak. They got Taylor Jenkins his 200th career coaching victory by defeating the Brooklyn Nets. A horrible loss for Brooklyn. The Grizzlies got a monstrous performance from Luke Kennard and end their losing ways on this episode. I will get into the game and talk about all the good stuff from it. Before I do, just a word from Underdog Fantasy. If you want to play fantasy sports for cash, if you want to play daily fantasy against your friends in private drafts, if you want to pick highers or lowers based on their stat projections to win cash, you can do it all at Underdog. And if you sign up using my promo code FBBF, Underdog will match your opening deposit up to $100. So if you're interested in Underdog Fantasy, use that promo code FBBF or click the link in this episode's description. All right, the Grizzlies used a massive performance from Luke Kennard to get this victory. Extremely shorthanded once again. No Jaren Jackson Jr. He was doubtful for the game. Luke Kennard was put in the starting lineup. The Grizzlies did not have Zaire Williams, who got injured in the previous game. So no Zaire Williams, no Jordan Goodwin. Those are two guys who started the last game. Jordan Goodwin was inactive for this game as they tried to manage the number of games available to him on his two-way deal. So the Grizzlies had Luke Kennard starting. John Conchar, by the way, started. The Grizzlies might have started their 4 best players. What a shocking strategy that is. But they answered the bell. And Luke Kennard, who's been the subject of, let's say, some scrutiny for his low shot attempt totals, his low scoring games this season, he finally erupted for his first 20-point game of the season, scoring a season-high 25 points. He had a season-high 6 made three-pointers, made those 6 three-pointers on just 9 attempts. He matched his season high with 7 assists. And I gotta say, one, it was great having Luke be super involved and to actually be aggressive. And also, it was notable how much he had the ball in his hands compared to previous games. No true point guard, with Jordan Goodwin being inactive. So they put the ball in his hands, and I don't know why they don't do that even when Jordan Goodwin's available. It's not like a thing where Vince Williams Jr. is being maybe tasked to do too much, and you're like, man, we got to get Vince off the ball a little bit more. I mean, of course, Luke is better off the ball, but like, we're shorthanded. We need guys to do things, and Luke can do some things, and just the number of times he was involved in a pick and roll, but I don't have the numbers. I don't have access to synergy. But like, it feels like in this last game, he ran more pick and rolls than he did in like the last 5 games combined. He did, of course, shoot more shots than he did in the last 3 games combined that he played in. But like, Luke was heavily involved, had extremely high usage. He had a lot of turnovers. I mean, he had 5 turnovers to go with those 7 assists. We get it. That's not a problem. He's being asked to do more than he's comfortable with, but he has to step up and actually do it sometimes. So Luke did deliver, made a ton of threes in the third quarter. He even hit like a wild one-on-one move to kind of ice the game. I mean, it didn't actually ice the game. Going down the stretch of this game, it was all about second chance points for the Grizzlies, where they out-hustled. I mean, I think you could say for this whole game, the Grizzlies out-hustled, outworked. They were tougher than the Nets. But they also made maybe some lucky baskets going down the stretch. You had Luke Kennard hit like a wild 12-footer off the dribble. You had Vince Williams Jr. hit a rainbow left-handed floater from also like 12 feet or so. And so the Grizzlies hung on. That's even with the 5-second call and them struggling to get the ball in bounds. But Luke was asked to do a lot. I assume he's always been asked to do a lot, but he actually stepped up and did it. And of course, that was really great to see. By making those 6 out of 9 3-pointers, Luke raised his season-long three-point percentage to 45.9%. That moves him into second in the NBA in three-point percentage, trailing only Grayson Allen. So he has a chance to lead the NBA in three-point percentage for the third straight season. Would I rather him do that or just shoot the ball more? I would rather him shoot the ball more. But at the very least, for this one game, Luke erupted. We got to see the full Luke Kennard go off, and it was a reminder that he has these huge games. And maybe it is just a matter of just the random occurrence of an NBA night where the ball was finding him and, you know, he was getting some clean looks. And like, if he could do this all the time, he would be an all-star. He's not. He's just a rotation player, a nice piece to have on your team. And because of that, he's going to have an awesome game every, I don't know, how many games? Every 8 games, every 12 games, he's going to go off. I mean, he has now multiple, you know, games with 5 or more made threes, and that is, of course, the extreme value of him. When you get one of those games, if it is every 5 or every 10 games where he goes off and hits 5 or 6, you're probably going to win. And speaking to the clean looks he was getting, like, you know, one of the criticisms of Luke is he only takes a shot if he's wide open. Well, I think we can give credit to some of his teammates for throwing him some nice crisp passes, and I think a lot of those were our guy Vince Williams Jr. Vince Williams Jr. in this game had 11 points, 6 assists, and 5 rebounds, but I think one of the most notable things that Vince does, this is the thing I've been talking about before, is how Vince throws passes that have really good pace, and a lot of times he hits the guy right in the shooting pocket. And in this one, you saw that, I think, fully on display, where Vince got numerous assists where he threw really good skip passes where, again, there was a lot of pace on the ball, so he hits Kennard on the other side of the court, and he hits him, again, right in the stomach or the chest, like right where Luke needs it to shoot it, and he threw the ball hard enough that it got there quick enough that it left Luke open, and the Nets player who would be sagging in off of Luke wasn't close enough to contest the shot, and Luke felt comfortable enough to get those shots up. So a really good job from Vince spreading the ball around and particularly hitting Luke on these skip passes. And also good job by Vince, not only making that wild floater, but also scoring a driving layup to help the Grizzlies maintain that lead and hang on for the victory. And one of the reasons the Grizzlies won this game is, you know, not just Luke, but the fact that the team scored enough points, which might be the most simplistic way to put it. But in the fourth quarter, and specifically in the fourth quarters of late, the Grizzlies had not been scoring. They had collapsed a few times in fourth quarters. They'd been blown out several times, just hadn't scored. In their previous 6 games before the Nets game, they hadn't scored more than 20 points in any fourth quarter. Since the All-Star break, they'd really been having these awful fourth quarters, and against the Nets, all right, they scored 26 points, which isn't a ton. And a lot of that, it wasn't because they were hitting their shots. They got lucky on a few shots, I think. But it's because they were dominating the Nets on the offensive glass. The Grizzlies in this fourth quarter got 7 offensive rebounds. The Nets only got 4 defensive rebounds in the quarter. The Grizzlies got 9 second chance points in just the fourth quarter, and that's how they ended up with 26 points. Again, not a lot. Like, the Grizzlies' offensive rating in this fourth quarter against the Nets was 113. That is not particularly good, but it raised their fourth quarter offensive rating since the All-Star break to 87. That is, notably, extremely terrible. So the Grizzlies scored enough, and a lot of it was just the activity. Lamar Stevens, who keeps having strong good games. Lamar Stevens had a couple of big offensive rebounds. Matthew Hurt had some offensive rebounds. And because of that, you see the Grizzlies scratching and clawing out this victory. The Lamar Stevens game, he finishes with 13 points, 6 rebounds, 2 of them on the offensive glass, had another block and an assist. This guy, since arriving on the Grizzlies, has been doing work. He is averaging 11.7 points, 5 rebounds, and 1 block per game since joining the Grizzlies. His on-off net rating swing is a plus 7.4 points per 100 possessions, and most of that is coming from the improved defensive rating when he's on the court. The Grizzlies have been better with him. He keeps making a name for himself. He keeps blocking shots. This guy, he's got the dog in him, and he keeps making winning plays for the team. Another solid, strong game for him off the bench. And now we have to recognize Jake LaRavia, who snagged a career-high 10 rebounds and thus got his first career double-double. 14 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals for Jake LaRavia. He also was part of the strong work on the offensive glass. He got a career-high 4 offensive rebounds as part of his 10 overall rebounds. Jake, basically the last few games, it's been everything but the three-point shooting. He's been making a lot of good basketball plays. He's scoring on the interior. After one of his steals, he had a really nice wrong-footed finish in transition. He's been playing okay. He's also been grifting his way to the foul line. Jake has 21 free throw attempts in his last 3 games, which is rather impressive. I mean, one of his plays in this one, he drew a flagrant foul on Lonnie Walker, and I have to be honest, I feel like the referees totally missed this call. Grizzlies fans were saying, oh, Lonnie Walker put him in a headlock and tried to pull him down. To my eye, and we got to see this replay like 100 times because they reviewed it for 5 minutes. To my eye, Jake LaRavia hooks Lonnie Walker's arm and tries to pull it in a weird direction. And to me, that's a kind of a dirty play. And then when Lonnie Walker tries to rip his arm out and sort of, gets the headlock thing, I understood it. I thought when they reviewed it, they might go with double text or something, but no. Jake LaRavia got the benefit of the flagrant foul. He then, of course, missed both free throws. But he, in my mind, instigated it, and it worked out for him. He, I'm going to say, tricked the referees he baited his opponent into committing a flagrant foul. But Jake's been doing some really strong things, and I think the rest of the season, it's going to continue to be about what can Jake give you? How well can he play? And I think it's definitely the best stretch of his career, these last 3 games. We're just seeing him do stuff. And basically, that's all we need. Show us that you can do some things. Now, Santi Aldama started also alongside Trey Jemison. That was the front court for the Grizzlies. Santi was very aggressive early on. It wasn't that notable of a performance. I don't know if I just have Santi blindness when it comes to remembering these games and assessing these games. His stat line was 12 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists. I hate to say I don't remember much about what he did in the second half. I mean, he did play a lot of center. We played a lot of small ball because of the foul trouble to Trey Jemison. Trey Jemison fouled out after just 18 minutes and 49 seconds of playing time. When Jemison was out there, I mean, really impressive stuff. He got 10 points and 7 rebounds. He made 3 straight shots in the second quarter. One of them was a end of the shot clock prayer. He also had that incredible block on Nick Claxton that led to a Vince Williams Jr. and 1 layup. So Trey Jemison looks really, really good. Could you argue he outplayed Nick Claxton when they were both out there together? I think you could. But Santi did play a lot of center. I mean, maybe you'd even say Lamar Stevens was the center, because Lamar Stevens was guarding Nick Claxton a lot. But the Grizzlies played some small ball with no real traditional center. I'm curious if those of you who are very passionate about acquiring Nick Claxton, what were your opinions on that Nick Claxton game? Claxton scored 21 points, but only had 6 rebounds. And of course, the Grizzlies kind of destroyed the Nets on the glass. And I saw Vince Williams Jr. guarding Nick Claxton, and I saw Lamar Stevens guarding Nick Claxton, and I saw Matthew Hurt, Lamar Stevens, and Jake LaRavia getting rebounds against some Nick Claxton lineups. And I know rebounding is a team activity. You can't blame it all on Nick Claxton, but that game to me highlighted some of the shortcomings of Nick Claxton. Even if he did score 21 points, like the Nets needed stops. They needed to clean the glass, and Nick wasn't helping them very much out there. But a nice game from Trey, who fouled out with 4.5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. I mean, I would say good job Taylor Jenkins letting him play through the foul trouble, but he didn't really. I mean, Trey picked up his 5th foul like early in the third quarter and then sat out for forever, came back in and quickly fouled out of the game. Now, Conchar in this one, who, of course, got the start. He played over 31 minutes. One of the things that was weird about the close loss to the Trailblazers in the previous game was Conchar only played, 15 or 18 minutes or something? And I just thought that was strange, where we thought we were getting Conchar and Kennard back in that second Trailblazers game to, help bolster the team, and they both didn't really play that much. This one, again, they started, made a little bit more sense. I mean, Luke, by the way, all right, so Luke, massive game. Nothing to say bad about Luke's game. He only played 27 minutes. It's a little weird. I mean, I guess we're taking it easy on Luke minutes. Don't want to overexert him. He's not exactly the most injury-resistant guy we have. So just being careful with Luke's minutes. But Conchar played 31 minutes and had a big impact on this game. You saw everything you expect from Jitty. Just the hustle plays, the rebounding. He got 8 boards, finished with 9 points, made a tough three-pointer. I believe it was the end of the first quarter. Got to the foul line, made clutch free throws. He actually did ice the game. He also drew a inbounding foul at the end of the game, and away from the play foul. I can't remember what the exact term is. It was before the inbounds pass was released. This is when the Grizzlies were up 3, and that is 1 free throw and the ball. That's a sneaky, tricky play by Conchar to draw that foul, to go down. I won't say flop, but to fall down and get the referee to give him that call. So Conchar looked really, really strong in this game. A very, very nice performance. And G.G. Jackson, it was not the best G.G. Jackson game. He, of late, has been looking extremely raw, extremely young. However, you can clip his 2 made shots, and it's a pretty nice highlight package. He hit a corner 3. There was a bit of nice ball movement. I believe it was a second chance opportunity. He gets hit for a pass in the corner, wide open, drills the 3. And then later on, he makes a nice back cut. Conchar hits him with a bounce pass that leads to a nice reverse jam. Outside of that, he missed the other 7 shot attempts he took. So he finishes with 7 points, 2 rebounds, and an assist. 2 out of 9 from the field. And finally, Matthew Hurt has really, I think, shined with his opportunity. And you might say he missed 5 out of his 6 3-point attempts. Yeah, sure. But most of them were not open. And these weren't like, why are you taking shots where you're covered? Almost every one was someone threw him the ball at the end of the shot clock, and he just had to put them up. So he had some thankless shot attempts. But the stuff he's doing besides the 3-point shooting, he's actually contributing, I think, in a pretty solid way. And he does not look that much like an NBA player because of his physique. Like, he's got kind of a weird looking body for an NBA player, but he plays with presence. And I feel like you feel all of his size. He's obviously tall, but like, he doesn't play undersized or anything. He is affecting players' shots. He is rebounding. And I've been honestly a little bit impressed with how he's played. He has that weird catapult-looking jump shot. I feel like if he got open looks, he would drain them. He hasn't been getting those open looks. Of course, this is like the argument you can make for any other player on the team. Imagine Matthew Hurt playing alongside, Ja Morant and Desmond Bane. He might actually be a useful player, and that isn't something I expected. I mean, even watching him in Summer League, I was like, this guy's not. He has no NBA upside. But like seeing him play in the last few games, and of course, we're in post-All-Star break games in tank season. So everything you see now, grain of salt. we're not getting team's best shot, and we're not really playing for anything, so the stakes are low, so you don't want to get carried away. You don't want to get carried away by, a Marshawn Brooks averaging 20 points per game over the last 10 games of the season. This is not real basketball we're watching right now. But that being said, I've been pleasantly, surprised by how Matthew Hurt has played. I thought he's been doing a good job, and definitely he's been seizing the opportunity that's been afforded him in this time on the 10-day contract. A few more things to wrap up. The Grizzlies only had 9 guys, so of course they played a 9-man rotation. Was there some benefit to shortening the rotation a little bit? I think you can make that argument. If you wanted to make the argument, it was important the guys who were not available, I believe that argument is available for you. Was it perhaps beneficial not having Zaire Williams or Jordan Goodwin or Yuta Watanabe? I think you can make that argument. Also, I think more importantly is it just meant you played better players more minutes. It meant you actually played Conchar 30 minutes. It meant you played Luke Kennard 27 minutes. Maybe it helped that you had more of maybe your tougher, grittier role players in there. Like, you're going to be a tough team if Lamar Stevens and Trey Jemison and Conchar and Vince Williams Jr. are all out there. Those guys are doing stuff. They make winning plays. A word about Taylor Jenkins picking up his 200th career coaching victory. He, of course, is second place in Grizzlies franchise history in coaching victories. He trails Lionel Hollins by 14. So he will overtake Lionel at some point. Most certainly not this season. And finally, for anyone out there who is sad that the Grizzlies won, because, after sweeping the back-to-back against the Trailblazers, they moved within 2 games of the Trailblazers in the reverse standings. This win, of course, moves them further away from the Trailblazers. I would just say, first of all wins are good. Second of all, I stick by my previous statements of weeks ago. The odds of catching the Trailblazers are low. It's going to be hard to lose enough games to catch these teams. But even if that still bothers you, you really wanted to increase our chance at the top pick from 9% to 10.5%. I will just say, I think you could make the argument that beating the Nets with this shorthanded roster increases the chances that the Nets trade you Mikal Bridges by more than 1.5%. So if you needed something to console yourself, if you are obsessed with the lottery standings, just keep in mind, hey, the Nets are probably more likely to trade us a guy we might want now because we embarrassed them with our bench and role players beating their mostly healthy team. I mean, they had Mikal Bridges, they had Cam Johnson, they had Nick Claxton, they had Dorian Finney-Smith, they had Dennis Schroeder. I mean, this is sort of their team. And they had a rough go of it, and the Grizzlies get the victory. Anyways, thanks everybody for listening. If you don't subscribe to the YouTube channel, please go subscribe to the Grits and Grinds YouTube channel. If you want some more content, if you want to join my listener Slack channel, well, you can do all of that at patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. A deep thanks to everyone who has signed up over there. All right. Hope you guys have a great Tuesday. I'll talk to you soon. Go Grizz.